Lori at 7.5 months old. This is Lori at 2 years old.
Keep both of them.
Oh.
That's all right.
And this is Lori when she was in Headstart at 5 years old.
I wanted to tell you a little bit about Lori. Unfortunately, we've lost a videotape that we had as a record of her time at Headstart, so that's why we're using these photographs to tell you a little bit about this child. To me, my memories of her are very dear to me because she's a child that made us believe. And by that I mean she had some special needs, and this was before Chapter 766 because Lori is now 11. And when they asked if she might be enrolled at the center, I was consulted since I was the center teacher, and they said this child is a textbook hyperkinetic. Now, to a teacher, that means this child will be all over the room and will need constant care. I was very anxious to take her once I met Lori because Lori has a charming personality. She's very sociable. At that time, even though she was 4, she had very little language skills. She would come up to you, give you a big smile, and say, "Me, Lori, who you?" And that was the vocabulary we started with. Now, I'd like Mrs. Aruda to tell you a little bit about Lori as a tiny baby and when she first discovered that Lori did have some special learning disabilities.
Lori was 10 months old when she got very, very sick. And at 10 months old, we found out she was an epileptic also. And she also had brain damage. How much and how extensive, nobody even till this day can tell us. She will reach a point where she won't learn anymore, and she also will reach a point where she is dying for thirst of knowledge, which she has reached now. When she was sick, 10 months old, when she was sick, the seizure that she had at that age left her paralyzed for around 6 months on her left side. And she had to go to physical therapy and different things like that. And she pulled through. She still has a left side weakness because the right side of her brain is damaged, which controls the left side of the body. Her seizures now are under control. She is seen by Boston Hospital Children's Float.
And I'll pick up from there to tell you a little bit about what she was like in the classroom. She really did cover the territory, and we were instructed that probably she would never learn to ride a tricycle. Well, that was the first thing that Lori proved to us was totally untrue. It took a lot of doing. She fell many times. She had bruises. And we would try to be protective of her, but no way Lori was going to learn to ride a bicycle, which she did. She still couldn't do much in the cognitive skills until one time, quite by accident, I was working with this tutogram, which is a little teaching machine that has cards that you put on this little grid. The other children were doing it and matching, and it would turn on the little light. Lori was fascinated. Now, her attention span was very limited at that time, but this was something she would look at. And finally, I picked her up on my lap and said, "Lori, would you like to try it?" Now, her mother has told you that she was paralyzed for a time, and her hand control was very poor. So she really couldn't show me much on this grid. But she did point out that she realized that this animal matched this animal. And from there on, we knew that she was following, she was aware of things, and I guess it was when we learned how to help her that she was able to show us what a wonderful little mind she had. And all the records from the doctors and everybody else had to change because Lori did have a very fine little intelligence and she was able to move ahead. And for any teacher, this is really a great moment. You just become so involved and so anxious to show what this child can do, and she becomes, well, she really became emotionally attached to the Dudograph. She still asks her mother about it, and she still uses teaching machines with joy at school, and they have helped her immensely. But once she could prove what she could do, then everyone got interested, and it progressed quite quickly. And I'll let her mother tell you a little bit about some of the things that she noticed. At first, I would like to say that this family was always giving her the love and attention and encouragement. In fact, when we first got Lori, we had to convince the Arudas that she could follow some directions, that she didn't have to eat her dinner all over the house, that she could be forced to do some things, because they were determined to love her exactly as she was and not to require anything of her that she wasn't capable of doing. But once they did start making some requirements of her, she progressed. And with that, I'll turn it over to you.
And I just like okay, let's see, she learned how to dress herself. She can tie her shoes. Different things like that. She does sit at the table and eats her dinner. She washes herself. She takes care of all that. I don't have to be on top of her. She has a good dental record because she loves to brush her teeth. She plays well with children. Of course, her brother and her fight a lot. Her brothers and sisters do that. She tries to get away with a lot. You have to be very, very firm. If you tell her to do something, you have to say, you have to be repetitious. You just can't let her get away with it because she'll try to. She will definitely try to get away with not doing what she's supposed to do. And you just can't allow that. It has to be done. She's very close with the family.
I wonder if you wouldn't like to tell them a little bit, because you were one of the first parents to fight for rights for these children in an integrated school situation. And now we have Chapter 766 that gives you a hand. But at first, did you ever have any doors closed to you?
Everyone closed the door. Everyone. There was days where we cried for hours. People would not believe that. I guess you go back into the olden days when kids that had brain damage or anything were just kept in a closet. And we fought. We did not use the best of language at times. My husband almost got into fights with people at times because we felt that she deserved an education, whether they liked it or not, and we got her one. They did not like the idea, but they at least let us try. And then 766 came in. Then when 766 came in, it was a godsend not for only me, but for anybody's children, anybody who has a learning disability. The main thing on a learning disability is the parents have to accept that there is a learning disability. If they don't accept it, you're all done. It's the child that's going to suffer. It's not you. Because it's not right for you not to have this child get an education. And you have to fight for it. Now the 766 is in, I don't have to fight for her education like I did when she was younger. But then you can never let them slack off either. You have to keep them on your toes. You have to be interested. Even though they place her in a class, you have to show interest. You have to go into the class unannounced, which you're allowed to do. You can just walk in, which I do. I always have, and I always will. And just to see that things are up to par. I have quite a few conferences through the year with her teachers to make sure everything's going the way we want it to go for her. She has a very excellent school plan going on right now. I have no qualms whatsoever. She's got a wonderful teacher. She has for the last 3 years. Really, ever since she's been in school, she's had good teachers that were really involved with her. And they liked her as a person, plus as a student. And they really, really helped her come a long, long way. It's not just one person per se that has helped Laurie, it's everybody. Family members, school teachers, friends, everyone has helped her. Which is good because children need that, whether it's somebody that's perfectly normal like my son or somebody who has that scads of problems like my daughter. You need the family involvement.
I want to tell what Chapter 766 can get for you too. For example, when Laurie was in Head Start, I was trying to teach her to make some of the symbols that we expect of a child, say a circle, a cross, a square, and having very little success until an expert from Meeting Street School visited, did some work with Laurie, and explained to me that because of Laurie's brain damage, she could not see where lines intersected. Now, can you imagine trying to learn the alphabet when you can't see where lines intersect? An impossible task. But this person had the courage to show me and let me experiment with Laurie, and we started out with putting her little fingers through fish gravel, then through sand, eventually magic markers. And while Laurie still couldn't see where a line intersected, she learned where they do. And this opened the whole concept of putting language on paper for her. And I've often thought back, how could I have known this without someone to tell me? No matter how patient, no matter how long I had taken, I probably wouldn't have used the right methods to bring this up. So this is what Chapter 76 can provide. And these are the kind of things that can prevent the heartache that Mrs. Abuda was referring to. Now she's able to do complex work at school, as the film will show you, make nice letters. And isn't it great to see her ride that two-wheel bike? And I think of the physicians that said, she'll probably never ride a tricycle.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the pictures?
These,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
these pictures were all done in Head Start. This was in 1972. She was only 4. And this one she was done at 5 in 73. This one is in 74. This is a family portrait. This is how we all looked to Laurie at that time. And this is a self-portrait of herself. This is also in 74. This one right here is my Mother's Day card that I just received. And she printed everything on the inside. I don't know if you can see it because it's in pencil. But she wrote all the words and she printed it herself. And this is, she gets report cards from school. And the grade level that she's working at, she's a B student, which is quite hard for Laurie to be. She really works hard for these marks because they don't give out these marks very easily. She does work very hard for them. And she has done excellent. And she continues to do very, very well in school.
Laurie had a very limited attention span. And now I think it gives me great pleasure to see how long she can stay with the same task and how well she can do it. But it is interesting that her father gives her the nickname of Zoomer, which shows that she still has a tendency to be quick about the things that she's doing and interested and moves from one activity to another. In fact, right now, this week, the family's planning a trip to Florida and going to Disney World, and that is the big topic of conversation. And certainly I know that Lori will gain a lot from this because she loves to relate to people, to see things for herself, and she learns much in that way.
This is Lori receiving her first communion. This was a very big step for her because we never knew if she could receive one of her sacraments. She did accomplish it. She learned her prayers. She learned to participate with her first communion class. And she did make her first communion. The family member we had was there. And at the end of the service, we all applauded. Not only for Lori, but for other children, but to my family, it meant a lot for Lori to receive.
I'd like to give Head Start a little plug. Often we hear about programs that the taxes are rather high and should the program be continued. But if we can intervene when a child is young, before they become self-conscious, before they worry about what other people think, much can be accomplished. And Head Start gives one the freedom to do this. We have requirements naturally, but we don't have a set curriculum and we can experiment.
You were thrilled to get her in Swansea School, and then what happened?
When we first moved to Swansea, Lori is in the Swansea school system, and they did not have, wait a minute. They did not have, they didn't,
Don't worry, I'm just playing with the camera. Just talk, smoke, do what you please.
okay. They did not have the, they had a teacher for special ed when we first moved to Swansea, and she was about 60. And she shouldn't have been a special ed teacher in my opinion. She had no patience whatsoever. Of course, Lori completely disrupted her classroom. She did not have the facilities to teach Lori. So we had a core evaluation done of her. And we were allowed to put her in the school of our choice because Swansea could not educate Lori. And under chapter 766, if your town or city cannot educate your child, if your town or city cannot educate the child, they have to provide an education for her, so you have to send them wherever you can find a good education. We sent Lori into Fall River at the Holy Union Primary School. It was an excellent, it still is excellent Catholic school, and Sister Ann was the head of the school. The reason we sent her there is because it's the kind of school that the child can progress at its own speed. The child does not have to learn like arithmetic today and go through the timetable today. If they have to take 2 or 3 days for that, they can take that. They can take the time. Sister Ann did wonders with Lori. She got Lori to sit down and to really, start into the school work and stuff. And I'll be, I'm very grateful for her for that. And then there came a time where Lori outgrew the school because it was a freestyle school. And Lori required a very structured background. And then we were able to put her back into the Swansea school system, which had completely changed their special ed department. And she had a teacher named Mrs. Kelly, who was a wonderful, wonderful teacher. And then now she has Mrs. Lucas, who is also a wonderful teacher. And the education now is great. I have no qualms or anything about her education. She has wonderful teachers, and they like her, and they try to help her as much as possible.
How could anybody help liking her?
Yeah,
Such a-
she has a personality. If you don't like her, you will by the time she's done with you. You know, she has no fear of anyone, which in a way is very, very bad. And we try to help her, but she's too trustworthy of too many people. And I guess she always will be. We don't know. We try to tell her not to do certain things, but only God knows if she's going to stop. But she shows too much affection to people. We don't mind if it's someone we know, but she also does it to people we don't know in the markets and in the shopping centers and stuff. She'll stop and say, hello, my name is Laurie, what's your name? Some people just get totally aggravated and say, hey kid, take off. They just, you know, people are cruel, people don't understand, because she does not look retarded, she doesn't have any retarded characteristics. You know, any retarded.
Well, it gives her a certain vulnerability.
Please?
It makes her somewhat vulnerable, but it also, it's part of her charm.
Right, right.
And it's a sizable portion of her charm.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
No, I think that probably tells you a lot about our very special little girl.
Yeah, she's come a long way. Long way, and she's doing excellent. And God's hope she'll keep going.
And that is what I meant when she was a child that made us believe. I never have another child with special needs to come into the center that I'm not inspired by Laurie's story. And no matter what the problem, we all attack it with a lot of hope and a lot of belief.
Yeah, never give up and never say that child can't do that, because in time, maybe not right at that particular time, but in time that child probably could do it. Just give them, a lot of love and a lot of firmness and a lot of understanding. Last week Laurie did something that I think you'd like to know. She brought home a book. The name of it was The Chicken Something or Other. She has never read for her father and I. She reads in school and they send home tapes so I can believe that she's actually reading, because she won't sit down for us and read. And it just so happened she brought home this book, The Chicken, I think it was The Chicken and the Hen. And at night she brings home library books and we sit on the couch. I usually read her a couple of pages. And I wasn't paying attention to her. So she got mad and she took the book off my lap and she started reading this book. Well, then I was listening, but I didn't want her to know that we were listening. And finally, I just turned around and I said, gee, why don't you read a couple of more pages? Then she got mad. She said, no, you read it to me. And I said, gee, I didn't know you could read these. These are awfully hard words. And she said, well, I can do that. I said, well, gee, let me see. And she did. She read it to me from cover to cover, which she had never done. Well, forget it, I cried. Then she went to the father. I said to her, why don't you go sit on Dad's lap and try it to Daddy? No, I'm tired. I think I'm all done. Anyway, her father coaxed her, and she sat on his lap, and she read. Well, he was all wiped out also. It's something that she had never done for us, and then she finally did it. And that meant so much to us, to see how far she has come. For a child who could not sit down, she could not sit down at all in classrooms, at all. And she couldn't concentrate. Her attention span was very, very short, maybe a half a second. Now to sit down and read a book from cover to cover. The book was about 30 pages long. She read it. She knew the words. We did not help her. And she did it all on her own. So as a reward, we are going to Florida this week. She can have whatever she wants. And we promised her that because she's doing so well and she's really, really getting into the school, she has a real gun-ho attitude now on school. She wants to learn. She does not like being absent whatsoever. And there's certain days that she has to be out and she cries. She does not like to miss school. So for doing so well in school, she can have whatever she wants in Florida. And that's our promise to her, but she has read the book to us, and now she's starting to bring home more books. I think she feels a little more comfortable that she can read the words. And she's starting to bring home more books, and she's starting to read more pages to us. But this was a great, great big step for her, because she just would not read for us. She would read for the teachers, but not for us. And she has accomplished it, and she's done excellent.